Welcome back to Perkins Pipes. Before I get started, as I usually do, I don't know if you can see this. Looks like a beam of light coming in. I hope that picks up on the video. It's just a gorgeous morning here in central Indiana. And at least on my screen, I can see that beam of sunlight, and I think that is just so pretty. Folks, we've got for you today the little purple pipe that I had made some time back. There's a reason for bringing out the color purple. No, it is not deep purple. I'm not talking about music today, but there is a reason I have my Latin tutorial shirt on and my Junior Classical League hat on. These things all go together. As always, let's get this guy lit. Let's get to talking. I had the absolute honor and privilege of having a guest visit me in my classroom recently, at least as the recording of this video. One of my high school Latin teachers. I had two. And you're saying, Steve, I see a lot of salt and pepper in that beer, maybe more salt than pepper. You're getting a little long in the tooth yourself. How in the world did your high school teacher come to visit you? Well, there had been a teacher at our school for decades. She retired at the end of my junior year. And so the woman who replaced her was a fairly young teacher. So she's not that much older than I am. Enjoyed her very much in class as a teacher. Then I go to college, to university, to study classics, to become a Latin teacher myself. We stayed in contact. We moved from student teacher to friends. She eventually moved back home to Illinois, continued teaching Latin. We became colleagues in the education world, and we've just been dear friends ever since. She's retired now, and her husband passed away a few years ago. And so she was traveling, passing through Indiana on the way elsewhere, and wanted to know if she could stop by and visit. Our family and we went out to dinner the night before, and then the following day she came to my school to just see my classes. Now, the way my schedule works, I have two classes. There's kind of a homeroom period, then a third class, and then I have lunch. And then two more classes after that. As we were walking to lunch, I was remarking on the third period class that she had just seen. And I said, wow, they were just really great. I said, they're ordinarily very good, but boy, they really were just killing it today, doing a great job. And she agreed. But then she came back to something that about, let's see, 4 hours before. She went back to something 4 hours before, back to first period. And she says, who was that one girl? And she pointed to, kind of indicated where she had been sitting in the class. She said she was just leading the class in her translation. They'd had some homework to translate something from Latin to English. And I said, oh, yeah, that's so-and-so. And I said, she has really come on strong over the last couple of years. I said, particularly last year, I just really watched her confidence slowly start to increase. And she would raise her hand a little timidly, and then a little bit more confidently, and she really came into being quite the classroom leader last year, and then starting off this fall, new school year, she really is continuing that. And so I said, yes, I'm really glad you noticed that about her. I said, I will share that with her the following day. As we were walking along, my friend said, would you mind if I wrote her a note? Would that be appropriate? Would that be okay? I said, absolutely. That would be wonderful. So after lunch, during the next class, my friend, whose name is Marcine, took a piece of paper, pen, and wrote this young lady a note. She showed it to me at the end of the day, and I nearly teared up. Just a short little note telling this young lady, she's a senior, that Marcine had noticed her, had noticed her contributions to the class and how she was just prepared and just leading well. Couldn't wait to give that to the young lady the next day. I did. No surprise, I saw a light on her face when she read it. She was clearly pleased by that. And so certainly that was a blessing all the way around. But I think what actually struck me the most was once a teacher, always a teacher. Marcine's been retired a few years now. She was there to see me, her former student, but she couldn't help being a teacher. She couldn't help noticing a student in the classroom who was doing something really good, and she couldn't help wanting to affirm that student and build into the life of that student. I talked about that with several of my colleagues that next day. Marcine had already gone and was going on with her trip. But I talked about that with several of my colleagues, and they all just thought that was just wonderful, just an amazing thing. Now, Marcine is a very caring person, very, very loving. She loves all of her students, always has. She keeps up with them. She goes to their weddings. She is involved in their lives, and she is crazy go nuts for the color purple. She's always been a crazy fan of the color purple, and so that's why the purple pipe is out today. I don't know if you ever had a teacher like that. I hope you did. I hope you had at least one teacher or coach, and get the word I'm about ready to say here, who noticed you. That is so important in the life of a young person, for an adult to notice him or her, to see what they're doing. This is why little kids want to bring home the coloring paper, right, and show it to mommy and daddy and put it up on the refrigerator. I want you to notice me. And that's an important thing. That's not arrogance, right? That's not self-centeredness. That's normal development. We need to be noticed. Which is why people will stay or leave a place of employment very often, if they're not getting that sort of recognition, that sort of acknowledgement. It's not just about the paycheck. It's about the acknowledgement. Yes, you are doing a good job. I see you. And I will tell you that for the true teacher, that never stops. It never stops. I'm as interested in students I had years ago as I am the ones that are currently in my class, and I can't imagine that ever changing. Even when I ever retire, although I said I enjoy what I'm doing so much, they may just have to drag my corpse out of the classroom. But if I ever retire, that's never going to change. And I think for the true teacher, it never does. And that was a beautiful lesson for me, the teacher, student once again, to see my teacher investing like that in one of my students. Why? Because she's a teacher. And she always will be. So, folks, did you ever have anybody like that in your life? A teacher, coach, somebody who invested in you? Would love to hear your stories. As Malcolm Guite likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing. Or as I like to say in Latin, Parva ago ut tandem, nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.